All right, so there's music playing, music playing. Nobody can hear what we're saying. Anthony makes some dumb joke about something about Quark. We all laugh about how Quark was the most ridiculous character
He's one of the
and how
greatest
much
Star Trek
we
characters.
loved Gorn. Was it Gorn? What's the guy at the bar all the
Morn,
time?
Morn,
Morg.
yeah, Morn. Yeah,
Gorn. That
yeah.
guy
They
is
can
the
talk about he
best.
talks so much.
He's the best. That is what Discovery is missing.
It is.
More
Other
needs to
if they,
show up on Discovery. We don't know
if
how
they,
long Morn lives for, right?
nope, not at all. No, he has four stomachs. That's about it.
Okay, all right. So he could be like a long, long living species, and Morn's just a part of Discovery. I'd be fine with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. If they do, if they ever do future Star Trek shows, I'd love to just see him still sitting there 80 years, 80 years in the future.
And what's her name? The bartender,
Guinan?
Whoopi Goldberg, Gyna. Isn't she like alive now?
Yeah, because our species lives for thousands of
This is
years.
born. Dax was born in 2018, which is
Yeah.
this year. So
Oh,
there's a Dax around. I don't know which Zax.
I didn't know that. Um, yeah, I thought about that when we because everybody always makes their list about what positions and what characters you have and what positions on a starship, and I was like, people forget about the bartender or the 10 forward person. So you got Neelix,
Yeah,
Guinan, and Quark, and which one would you rather have? I thought of those. Like we know people have their own personal
yeah,
captain, but who do you
that's
want
true.
pouring your drinks? Who do you want pouring your
It
drinks?
matters.
It
There
does
are
matter.
strengths and weaknesses to both. There are strengths and weaknesses to both.
If you need some
Quark will keep
wise
you
wit,
entertained, but
if you need
Guinan will.
Guinan will give you some wise wisdom. She's actually a better Deanna Troy. She did more of Deanna Troy's job than Deanna Troy did, if you think about it. And but Quark, he'll get you the stuff you need. You need something shady. You need a
He'll
holosuite
get
program. He'll get it for
exactly.
you. And he comes with his brother. You know
Yeah,
that's stuff right there. And then you got Neelix. You know, I say what you want about Neelix. He was
I
he was
don't.
the feel good guy. He was all if your spirits are down, you got low morale. Neelix is gonna be there to be like, shut up, Neelix, make you feel
I don't
better a little
count
bit inside.
Neelix. I barely pay attention to Neelix and his underage wife or whatever.
Ooh, ooh.
Anyways, welcome to Earth 2 Comicast. Uh, we are missing one Mo right now. He is late.
There was a
So
mutiny on the Terran comic two comic cast ship. We know how we
yeah,
get our promotions around here.
yeah. There's
Clear the
basically a
background.
mutiny on the set, and we took over. So that is why we have started our talk with, rather than music and formal introductions, laughter about who you would prefer to serve your beer on Star Trek
And this
or
is a very
Romulan
important
ale,
subject.
maybe.
Romulan ale, of
Yeah.
course, because it's illegal.
So this is Earth 2 Comic Cast, where superheroes exist and Star Trek talk apparently is the norm.
Mm.
And I just want to say, first of all, that I really appreciate everybody who's actually been listening to us. I know we've had some microphone issues and that kind of stuff. And yet it is our highest rated program, actually, cast that we put on Earth 2. So that's really exciting. So I just want to shout out to all the Discovery fans who have been following us. I really appreciate it. So, and I know
He
Mo really appreciate. Mo like breaks down in tears. So
he does. I'll be like, I want to say you're welcome, and he's like, no, 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 no. Like we're so grateful for the fans, and we're gonna grow because we're all a family. Let's go. And I was like, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe he'll resurface. Maybe after that box we locked him in, he'll get out and he'll come back on at some point during the broadcast.
I mean, I would have just pushed him over the ledge into that giant sun thing, but
Right,
oh,
but you know.
all right. Maybe we'll need him later.
Right,
He's gonna
right, right.
show up after. What are um the chambers where they torture you? Are they just torture chambers? They had like a
The
name.
torture tubes or something like that. Terror camp, something.
Torture
I don't
tubes.
Yeah. So, Patrick, what
So
episode are
this
we
episode,
discussing today?
yeah, we're talking about Star Trek Discovery, What's Past is Prologue, episode 13, is that right?
You think so? Because I thought this was the last episode, and they tricked me. Great,
So I
great
think what we
title,
have
by the
one
way.
more, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
great title, by the
Yeah.
way.
I need to think
All
more on that
poetic and
title,
whatnot,
honestly.
right? Try and give us
Yeah.
something to think about Discovery. You know, we just like our popcorn sci-fi here. Nah,
Yeah.
that's not true.
So I'm also a little bit sick, so that's why you hear me coughing in your ear. I apologize for that.
It's the
Uh,
poison. I'm taking over the whole cast, people. The
yeah,
whole
I've been
cast. I want that other medal on my on my.
in my other life, I'm like a the owner of a bunch of retail shops, and I've been avoiding my stores because in retail, like if you're sick, you go
Spreads.
in, you get everybody else sick. Soon nobody's coming to work. Things get
Right.
ugly real.
I get
So
one cough, I call out. Oh, I can't make it. I can't make it.
and that's why
Uh,
Anthony and I can't work together anymore. So
yeah, yeah. We were roommates. We worked. He was running a retail place,
uh,
and he was like, "I can't make it." He's like, "You live 2 houses down from the store."
that's true. So Anthony's going to give us the rundown, and we're going to kind of go through this episode. I love this episode. I have some issues with this episode, but I think those issues come sometimes, and she has some strengths and she has some flaws, right?
You're talking about Michael? Michael?
No, I'm just saying you're dating a girl and she has some
Oh,
strengths, she
yeah,
has some
yeah, yeah,
flaws,
yeah. Or a boy,
and that way
or
the flaws. So you're like able to overlook. That's what I'm trying to say. You're able to overlook the flaws. So I think
mhm.
this episode has a few flaws that we'll get to, but I think they picked the director they did for a reason because his strengths or her strengths outweigh the flaws.
There
Sorry,
were
the
no
name of the
deal
director is Ola.
breakers.
It's a guy, Olatudo Asunumi. Kind of looks like. Oh, I'm gonna have to look into him. But anyways, yeah, I think that he directed this episode at the parts that were most important in a way that I think a lot of directors may have not been able to pull off.
Is he an
Because
action
action,
director? Oh,
that's exactly action is what's essential for this episode. So, all right, so let's go ahead and dive in because we open you
so
right
just for a
before the
refresher,
credits.
yeah, where we left off last week on Star Trek Discovery was that it was just revealed that Lorca was in fact a Terran from this universe, and that he had been planning the whole ship, using it all along to get back to the mirror universe, and that he was staging a coup, and that he was actually had a relationship with an intimate relationship and a revolutionary relationship with Michael
Yeah, it
Burnham.
was made very clear in this. There was some arguments I saw online of whether there was an intimate relationship between the two of them.
Oh
It was
no.
made very clear in this episode.
Look, is that dick that wants everybody to know who he who he's been with. So he has to drop it in every conversation.
he pretty much did. He pretty much did.
Then announce it to everybody. It's like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Not
we ain't
not
that
just
level
that,
yet.
but dropped it to her adoptive
Her mama.
mom.
Her
Yeah,
mama.
yeah. It's like coming over for dinner and
Right.
being like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
you're her
I'm sleeping
daddy?
with your daughter."
Like, oh, you're her daddy? She called me daddy. At the dinner table. That's essentially what this was like. Um,
That is right.
so so yeah, so we start off with him releasing all his followers that apparently been tortured for over a year. Is that right?
Yeah, he gives a timeline, and I
He
can't
gives an
remember what.
exact date,
Yeah, he
which
does. I think it's a year. It's over a year. It's a year in like 200 days or something. So almost two
yeah.
years.
Yeah, so we see some of the characters that we've seen in Discovery, including the security officer that got murked
Yeah,
earlier in the season, which I thought was really
Landry.
cool.
Yeah,
Landry, yeah, um, and
which
why
you
he
really
took him.
liked her. You were like, she was like a favorite character early on in the show for
She
you.
she stuck out to me, and I mean, I think she was probably playing some tropes, but I was curious to see more about her, and then she was just gone. But again, we bring her back in this. Um, so then he's freeing troops, and before the last episode, Michael has called her ship to come and say it was pretty much safe. Now she doesn't think it's safe. Ask the Empress she advises her that not to play into her former captain's trap and the mind games. The Empress
I think
can't
it's
show weakness.
this is really interesting to me because it's so clear that this society is kind of trapped by the rules it's created. So
Yeah,
the only way for her to maintain her power as Empress is for her to defeat him in combat, which means she's forced basically to walk into that trap, knowing
yeah.
it's a trap.
It's one of the things that they talked about before. We talked about previous episodes how when Michael broke down the I guess the social trauma that this kind of society has caused, about how it's constant fear. So you can't not react. You can't be cautious. It's almost like when you're politically forced into a battle that you don't you it's not the smart time to go in and just hope it all works out. Hope you can overpower them. So if it's not using overpower force, then you know, in that position, the treachery, conniving type stuff, you got to do before you get to this point, or if not, you have to respond with force. You have to be in the front of the pack, pretty much. So you subscribe to that alpha mentality, which is
Right.
kind of
So, I
which
mean,
is BS. But
I guess
yeah,
what I like about that though, Anthony, is that a lot of times we see characters like this walk into traps, and I feel like you're
that's
smarter
out of
than this. What are you
foolishness,
doing?
right?
Right. But this actually feels like societally she has to do it. She has no, it's either that or like somebody that's following hers. Well, they're all going to basically turn against her because she
And
will lost her strength over them.
she mentions that at one point, like they've seen my neck, like there's nothing, like there's no other way. So the fear is broken. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when if you saw Darth Vader without his helmet on, it messes up some of the
Mystique.
yeah, right. And so you're like, oh, there's a vulnerability there, and so you have to project, or even what's that joke about? You wear the people are attacking, you wear the red shirt so they can't tell you're bleeding. Your men can't tell you're bleeding,
Oh,
right?
wow.
And you wear the brown pants so they can't tell that you.
I had never heard that before.
so so that, like, I really like that mentality. I really like that that's where they went. And you're right, that it wasn't out stupidity. She had no other choice to respond with force. So she can't take this advice from Michael in any regards, but then decides to lock her in a brig. Like, I'm not going to use, because even her people are going to see that. This is why I took it. They didn't expressly show this in the show, but if I'm her advisor in this society, I'm looking at, oh, he used Michael against you again. That's your weakness.
Yeah.
And, so she can't keep letting that be seen. So she's throwing a brig.
I found it very interesting actually that Michael is everybody's weakness. Like she's kind of the linchpin.
I'm going to get to that too, because you know my opinion on
It was a
Michael.
little overhanded. Or let me put it this way. I think that it could have been directed in such a way that it was more subtle than it was. Let's put it that way. But
Yeah.
let's go
So
on.
so then you have the Michael escapes. She gets out in a really like stormtrooper way of where everybody can't shoot or stop Michael. Michael goes
Yeah.
Michael goes from being kind of efficient in hand to hand combat to like Spartan warrior.
I don't
Like,
know. I disagree. She's always been kind of Spartan warrior.
well, I mean, like, look, at some point, one Klingon will just stop her, or she can get in a hand to hand. In this episode, like, whole rooms couldn't stop her. Like she was
But
determined to
Landry
blow
could.
somebody's
Her and
seats.
Landry, like that fight went. I thought that was really interesting. We'll get into that later. But her and Landry had to fight for a while, so that it made it clear that Landry at least is pretty potent.
Okay, I'll get at this. That they gave her the hero character. Like, you ever notice how like
Yes.
Klingons have super strength compared to humans, right? And then you go to Deep
Yep.
Space Nine, everybody like Miles Morales is knocking like 3 or 4 Klingons out in
Did you
hand to
say
hand
Miles
combat.
Morales?
Oh, Oh, I'm sorry. Miles
Cisco?
O'Brien.
Oh, Miles.
Sorry. I was watching.
Really? I just remember
Oh,
Cisco knocking out Klingons, which always
oh
made
yeah.
me happy.
Everybody
But I
gets
was
like.
fine with Cisco knocking out Klingons
Oh,
because
me too. But they made a point of Miles always getting beat up in fights. Like, I don't know if you ever noticed
yeah,
that. Like,
poor
you probably knock a
Miles.
regular person out, but like the real warriors, that'd be like,
Yeah,
yeah.
poor O'Brien.
Anyway, but you could tell like she was knocking out extras left and right.
It was all
Anyway,
that
so
racquetball or whatever they played.
right, he had a dislocated shoulder. I know how you feel, Miles. I know how you feel. Um, uh, yeah. Anyway, she gets away. Lorca like goes on the he takes over the command ship. There's a great fight between the Emperor's squad. Still feel weird saying Emperor. Like, I feel like there's no gender equality between saying Emperor and Empress, Queen and King. You know what I mean? Like, there's no.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know what that is societally because I totally agree with you with King and Queen, but like there was a real push a while ago that like not to call actresses, but just to call everybody actors. I don't remember that. Like to make it
I
gender neutral. So I don't know. That's interesting.
I
As
can't.
Emperor, I could see as being truly gender neutral.
Right. If we thought that's how the world was, we know Emperor Sato, because that's one of her names comes
Oh,
from comes
so
from
in the prequel in Enterprise, she's called Empress.
Yeah, she says, bow to your new
Oh,
empress or something like
so that
that.
changes that.
And we know that one of her names in her title, her Khaleesi titles, one of her names is actually linked to Sato, even though they have different heritages. Like Sato is Japanese
Right,
and she's Chinese descent. Like, but she took one of her titles as kind of like the writers were like to have like a connection to, the
right,
past.
right.
So
So that is
anyway,
interesting. I didn't realize that Sato was Empress. So that is
but
interesting.
can we talk about how she was such a gangster in this role? She sat like we're seeing people disintegrated.
Philippa?
Yes. And she
Yeah,
sat there and it was like this is a force field. There's something going on. She's staring down a laser blast. Something, I mean a phaser blast. Like something's going on. And that shield went up and it was like, oh yeah. And
yeah.
and
So at least she walked into that trap with a plan.
right. I also thought it was cool how they had two different phaser settings. Like one was like a
Yeah,
pinpoint accurate kind of like burrow a hole through you, and the other one was like just pure disintegration. I thought that was
yeah.
really cool too. Because we've
Yeah,
seen
because it's kind of like it's a play on the fact that we have stun and kill on the regular universe. So
mhm.
if you have kind of these two settings in a Terran universe, what would those two settings look like? And they probably look more like a shotgun blast style attack versus a pinpoint sniper attack. That makes
Yeah,
sense to me.
which I was cool, and it was great to see that kind of combat. It was great to see she had auto guns. Like it was kind of
Yeah.
like a it's kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. Like, haha, trap card, haha, trap card, haha. I use my escape teleportation site to site, and um, and then we see Lorca go and talk to Stamets and get his. Oh, I missed that. So he went and got our universe of Stamets with a cloaking technology and was hiding. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yep.
And it recruits Stamets to help get over some of the defenses of the Emperor. Um, so when he takes over this command ship, which pretty much I guess means he's the new Emperor to these people who
Yeah.
turned on her quick. And again, they follow strength. They have a pack
Yeah.
mentality where they're following
Well,
strength.
this ship is it's basically a Death Star because they say like it can destroy a planet.
Yeah, and it's like a city.
So
It's a city and all that. Also
yeah, exactly.
explains how they showed up without any kind of warning. I guess if they can slip, I guess if they're faster than other ships and everything like that. And we know they have
Yeah, I don't
active.
know.
Stamets had active cloak, so I guess they have cloak technology here
Right.
too.
Right.
Um, so so then we go to Lorca trying to solidify his power, talking about purity and Terran ideals and all this other stuff, which was a really good speech. Then he also makes a plea to Michael and how to and
Yep.
Michael does her John McClane going through ducks and talking to
So
him
this
and
is where, for me, actually, like that speech and everything feels. This is why I think the weakness I would say of this director, all of the kind of exposition and like there was just a lot of exposition, a lot of people like giving speeches and that kind of stuff. And for me, it felt a little heavy-handed, and also it wasn't as I don't know authentic or inspiring as some of the other dialogue and monologues we've seen in Discovery.
Mhm.
Um, it just felt a little bit off for me personally. Uh, but
but
I think it's because they picked this director because the action sequences were amazing, were better than probably anything we've seen in Star Trek movies.
anything in
Yeah. I mean,
movies.
that firefight you were just describing, that firefight alone puts to shame anything that we've seen. Even like the Abrams fights weren't as good as that, really.
Not at
Usually the
all.
Abrams fight were like two people versus two people shooting phasers around and stupid stuff, right? Like,
Right. And also in this episode they really used Miss Yo's um martial arts background, right? So
yeah.
like
Oh my
they utilized
gosh.
it a lot.
All the
Yeah.
kicks.
And they like, hey, just in case y'all forgot. Just in case y'all forgot. Cross the Tiger Hidden Dragon, y'all. cross, cross the Tiger Hidden Dragon, y'all. Like, so who was the real star? Because like I think people forget about that sometimes. So they want
Yeah.
to focus on Mr. Fett and the other young woman at the time in that movie. But who carried that movie? Who carried
Yeah.
that movie on her back? Yeah. So
And she's such a good actress
that
too.
was
It's just
excellent.
amazing.
Huh?
She's such a good actress as well. She has some,
Yes.
let me put it this way. She has some of the most ridiculous lines in this whole episode, and she pulls them all off.
She delivers. She's on point.
Yeah.
Also, then we skipped over. Michael does get in touch with Discovery, and lets them know what was going on.
Yep.
Which again,
Gosh,
again,
I was feeling for her when she usually those dumb things where they're like trying to do a transmission and like it's not working or whatever. You're like,
right,
whatever, they'll get through. I was like feeling for her. I was like, please get through. I was
right.
feeling
I
for
was
her that
not
moment.
sure. Was not sure how this was gonna go.
Yeah.
And my man emerged. You know what? No, I'm giving the respect to give him a name this episode. A name this episode.
Wow.
Uh,
Wow.
was it Sarku?
Saru, man. So for those of you who don't know, Anthony has been talking about Saru this whole season as just food or snack packs or
Emergency field rash.
emergency field rations. So for you to give him a name, it's like that's an honor right there.
You know what
That's
though?
like what Michael did for him just an episode ago.
He sounds like a plate that he can get at a Sakura though, with
Oh my
some
gosh.
rice
By the
and
way, all
chicken.
the Saru, all the like Kelpian memes online were amazing. They're a little heavy-handed at this point. Like we need to put it on a pause for a little while, but they were hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. But he has up, stepped up, and it was a nice progression to show him step up in this point too. They pretty much come up with a plan on how to take down the capital city ship of the Empire. Does the ship have a name? Do we know if the ship has a name?
It does have a name. I'm trying to remember. Mo would know. I don't.
Hmm. Well, too
I.
bad. Too bad we had a coup. So
It does have a
anyway,
name for sure. Yeah, yeah.
um, well, Patrick, if you find that, since you're the man in the chair, if you
I'm
find that, let us
looking.
know. But they come up with a plan, and we find out that there's not a miniature sun underneath them. It's actually the mycelial network,
Yeah.
kind of concentrated and uses a power source for the ship. So they're not using to actually traverse time and space, which we also got confirmed it can do. Not just space, but it also, in dimensions, it can transfer time, or
Yep.
and they come up with a way that they could probably destroy it, but they don't think they can survive the explosion, and we get a nod back to the whole Captain Kirk line where Saru says he does not believe in an unwinnable situation, which
Oh, I didn't even catch that. That's amazing.
thought right about it. And you get 2 points, Patrick, if you can remember what that's in reference to of Captain Kirk.
It's the Kobayashi Maru
Yes, yes. 2 points to Patrick. When we divide up most stuff, you
when
get an
he
extra
when he hacks
portion.
the computers.
Right. Where Captain Kirk, so all Starfleet officers, we've seen this in a couple different ways. Where Starfleet officers are giving one of the tests to pass Starfleet, kind of like their Jedi trials, is to face your worst fear, or in this scenario, in the early original series, I guess it was to face an unwinnable situation. So it's a computer program where you just can't win this battle, and it's not about winning; it's about how you deal with the defeat. We saw with Wesley Crusher's Academy tryouts where he had to face his worst fear. That's where in the Next Generation timeline, that was their test. You had to face your worst fear,
The
and they were
name of the
very
ship
good. According
is
to
the
Worf, they were very efficient.
Why?
They were very efficient at discovering. Oh, Mo, he got out the cage.
Hey,
Mo
what's
is
up?
here. The name of the ship is the Charon.
The Charon.
Like
Oh,
Charon, the like the dude in Greek mythology that like pushes that boat, the ferryman for Hades.
so
You have to
so
like
fan.
pay him a coin.
That's cool. So fans, for people who don't understand, yes, I tried to assassinate Mo. Yes, he's back now apparently, but I'm kind of like
It's
Saw
mirror
from the
universe Mo
Jigsaw.
though. It's mirror universe.
Oh, oh, so is this evil Mo? Is this evil Mo? He does have a beard. Did we have evil Mo all the
This is Mirror
time?
Mo, MU Mo, Mirror Universe Mo, the late Mo.
Yes. So, Mo for 2 points. For 2 points.
Yes.
Um,
Where are we?
what I'm about to tell you? What was the reference? What was the cut for not accepting the unwinnable situation?
What was the unwinnable situation?
What was the callback? What was the callback of that line? What was that referencing in Star Trek lore?
He's talking about so Saru says I don't believe in unwinnable situations. What is he referencing when he says that?
What is he referencing? What is he referencing? Oh my God, I'm blanking right now, guys. I'm sorry.
And
What?
Patrick,
Can
you
you
again
help
are the
me?
winner.
All right, I beat Mirror Universe Mo in Star Trek.
Yes. Real Mo would
Maybe
know that.
maybe in the
Real
Mirror
Mo.
Universe, Kirk fails that whole
Oh,
thing.
true. Maybe they didn't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's referencing the situation during his academy days where Kirk
Or
was supposed to lose. It was in a losing battle simulation, and he cheated to win.
The Kobayashi Maru.
Anyway, moving on. So, so we have him giving a speech to the crew and talking about how this is their ship now, and that they have their jobs and do it. And we get all the faces we've seen. He even name dropped some new names we haven't had in actual series before. And I gotta say, Emergency Ration stepped up. He stepped up, took command. I could see him being captain of the ship, and they've done it gradually through the season.
Yeah.
All right,
a lot of characters got speaking parts finally in this show. Some of them were the Mirror Universe version of themselves, but I was still glad that some of those actors that we've just been looking at. I mean, like that one dude. I don't know, the like African looking dude. Almost every episode, we just see him go. Right. And I think he finally got to talk in this episode.
All right, man, collect that paycheck. So we didn't that great action scene. Emperor Philippa, she gets away with an emergency site-to-site transport, which we know is like the saving grace. It's like the Eagles from Lord of the Rings and Star Trek. Emergency site-to-site transport. It's like the emergency. Mo, what did you think about that great fight? I kind of just was biased in my asking that question. What did you think about that great fight? That fantastic fight. Oh, Mo.
I don't.
I
think our Mirror Universe connection's a little rough.
We need to work on the transporter buffers. Anyway, so she got away with site-to-site transport.
When does Lorca explain how he got to the regular universe? Is that later?
That might have been oh yeah, one of the security guard. What was her name again? I keep forgetting it. Did she die in the regular universe? Landry. Yeah, she starts questioning about like what's going on. He's like, no, this is destiny. When my ship went down, when I got into that fight, I
thought that was really interesting. They kind of paint destiny as almost like his religion.
Yeah, but it's also, you have to, when you're a tyrant and a conqueror, you have to believe you're divine. You know what I mean? You have to believe that it is meant for you to do
manifest destiny.
Right. And even in that thing about how it's our job to rule the weak, for how would they know how to live? The people rights, the people only have the rights that I give them, and believe me, they're better off for it.
Yes.
So
some Romefeller Foundation stuff there.
Right. So he got a speech in and he talked about destiny, he talked about how he got there. And I was like, all right, cool. So I mean, there's still probably a story on how he got infiltrated in the Starfleet and all that, but during war and everything, I'm sure it's a lot easier. And you could explain everything else by PTSD. Like we did. Even though we did kind of guess this for a while. So anyway, Philippa comes in, she talks to Michael. She's like, I should have known he seduced you too. And she's like, whoa. Like, don't believe the rumors in the locker room. He had a Trump situation. He tried to tell some stuff like he got this, and he didn't. I mean, I might have banged a albino Klingon, but that's about it.
What did you think about how Lorca got across? I thought that was really interesting. Like
teleporters. Look, two things that you can consistently rely on to fuck up the norm in Star Trek are teleporters and holodecks, and they don't have any real holodeck situations here. So, like, the teleporter thing works for me.
Yeah.
And also because of Deep Space Nine, that's the case that something can go. You can apparently just rewire a teleporter to go across dimensions. So yeah. Also, okay.
Does that mean he landed? So when he teleports, does he land on the Mirror Universe version of his ship? Is that what they were trying to say?
You would go to their
and then the Klingons, somehow he must have blown up that ship on purpose.
Or maybe Lorca went down with the ship and he got off, and then came up with the story about how he went left. Like, that would make sense to me. Or So what we know of Deep Space Nine?
I'm still trying to piece out like when he makes the switch, I guess, in the regular universe.
I don't know. I guess we have to look at that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that? Mo, are you with us? As I'm going to try to transition again. No. So yeah. So they have their mother-daughter moment about her boyfriend choices, and then they do that whole, which is kind of also a trope. How
it is a trope.
Him? How we're going to give him exactly what he wants.
You know what I'm going to call them? All the quiet moments of this episode were a little bit lacking for me. That was the weakness. If I could make this episode perfect, I would had Jonathan Frakes directing the quiet moments of the episode, and then whatever this guy's name is, I can't really pronounce his name, and I feel really bad. Olatunde Usasanmi is the name of the director of this episode. I would have had him do all the action sequences
because the action was on point. Better.
Oh my gosh!
Like you said, Patrick, it's better than anything we've seen. Whoa, Mo. Your voice that's a little. I don't know what just happened there. So yeah, they come with the whole like we're getting him exactly what he wants. So Michael comes in, and again, what you're talking about, how you always look at things and be like, oh, how'd the bad guy fall for this? She actually gives him a reasonable thing that Lorca would believe and what he would want to believe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trading myself for my crew and my ship.
Because Lorca knows Federation's principles. He's not like your normal villain. He's been pretending to be a Federation officer for several years now, basically, almost 2 years. So he knows how Federation thinks and works. So she actually uses that against him because that's totally a Federation move. Like you could see Cisco or Picard or any of our Federation people doing exactly that.
It did multiple times. Take me, let my crew go, save my ship. And he thinks it's a doctrine the childish doctrine he has to help her get rid of. And then she also adds, and I like that she had that other thing on because again, some other shows would have put it on like you get me and whatever you want with me, but she put that stipulation on it and made it even more believable. Like let me make it clear, you're only getting my mind, not my body, and things like that. And it was like, oh, because she didn't have to. They were planning to betray her anyway. She didn't have to put that on there, but it sold it more.
Right.
And then you have SARU Discovery comes out. They say it's safe, and then the action starts. You get the Death Star trench moment with the Discovery. You get the second great fight with. Oh, we skipped over.
Oh my gosh, that fight up to the throne.
Hold on a second. We missed Doppelganger Stamets was executed. How can I trust you? And
what do you think about that?
Yeah, I thought it was very significant that they didn't push him down to the little sun. Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony, you finally got your fight with first, or not the first,
the security officer,
the security
Landry. Yeah, so we got some more with Landry.
Was it you that asked for? We finally got the face off.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. We got to see. We got this. Oh, so about the Stamets thing first. So that whole thing, I don't like poetry, and they shot him instead of pushing him down there. I think that was significant.
Interesting,
but I like
that. So I want to hear why.
I think that'll go back to the end of the thing. But I like that they just shot him. The line was terrible. That's what they needed. But it was again. It wasn't just cliche.
It was like.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm here. I'm listening.
Oh, so I like what's going on, but I think it actually connects with something that happens later in the episode. So So we get the throne room fight, and because they have to dislocate. I mean, they have to turn off the containment field of the miniature sun so Discovery can blow it up. Also, Discovery has found out, Captain Killy found out how they can survive it, and Stamets are going to ride the energy wave to get back to their normal universe after they blow it up. So there's a chance they can live. So the throne room fight happens, and it is amazing. And then again, we got a little bit more of that Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like I was expecting.
Oh my gosh, did we? That fight was ridiculous. As powerful as Twinkie or whatever you want to say Michael is, I think Philippa Georgia of Mirror Universe could take her out.
Oh yeah. This is what I was gonna say. Lorca talks about how he thought that Michael was the most capable, best person that he's ever met in his universe, and then he met our Michael, the Prime Universe Michael, and so this Michael out-twinked the Michael he knew. He didn't know the twinkness could get to a whole different level. He didn't know it, Patrick. He didn't know our twink level could go even higher.
That
was
one of those lines. That was one of those lines that, unfortunately, we've had this fight over whether Michael's a Mary Sue or not. And as we know, I'm pretty anti on the Mary Sue. But that line...
You're even more.
They were like, Michael.
Patrick, I can't hear you.
Was like more for these. You can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the kind of defining things about a Mary Sue is like all the characters are
fighting over. Yeah.
Over. There were a couple of things that were a little heavy-handed for me in this. As I said, it was just a little.
Michael out-twinked
there's ways to correct those same plots without it feeling like it's like, yeah.
She out-twinked herself, Patrick. She out-twinked it. It was amazing. I was like, oh, man, y'all didn't even hide it anymore. Y'all not hiding anymore.
There are many more. Now my internet that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure whose link that is. Okay. But then we get the fight. So again, we had Miss Yo, and they was like, "Don't forget, y'all. Don't forget where I came up in. Don't forget my background, cause she Chris Tuckered that boy. Like her foot came up, hit that man in the jaw over her shoulder, and he was like,
"Yeah, man,
which one of y'all hit me? Which one of y'all hit me?
Did she even like punch anybody the whole time? She's just taking them all down with her feet.
She had like locks and holds and kicks. It was crazy. Like, and shoot people. She shot that guy in the chin point blank. She was. I love this version. I love this version. And so then we get the tag team fights, not tag team, the 2-on-2 fights, which I thought was gonna switch up at some point.
It kind of does, but Landry goes down, right?
Landry goes down. Then Philippa goes down, and then Michael gets the better, which again was a really even fight for what we've seen her do. But like, but I get dramatic tension. But then
I'm starting to feel like there are some people in Star Trek who know how to fight, and there's some people who don't.
Just don't, which makes sense. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you're a great engineer, but you're not Starfleet's best martial artist, which makes sense.
She held her own against Michael. Like seriously, held her own. She got beat,
but she held her own
way because it was legit.
But that makes sense because again, in Starfleet, in Earth culture, Earth and Vulcan culture, in the Prime universe, it's kind of like that old Japanese philosophy of like whatever you do, you're gonna do it to perfection as much as you can do it. So whether that's building ladders, if you're gonna build a ladder, you're gonna be the best ladder builder there is, or if you're an engineer, you're gonna be the best engineer. And in the Terran culture, I imagine everybody knows how to fight. Like I imagine you best know how to fight. You know what I mean? So that fight goes off, and we kind of saw that we saw Michael show mercy, which is a progression from her last time. Her and Philippa fought a bunch of people in a room together. So this time, instead of killing the person that's kind of ticked her off, she showed mercy and decides not to. And we all saw it, but Philippa stabs like, she won't kill you, but I will, and stabs him in the back through the chest. And again, his last moments are reaching out to Michael, and he falls into the network, son. And I think that's they could be done with him. He could be just killed. But I think it's very telling that they didn't kill Stamets that way, but they did kill him this way. And because we don't understand how the network works, there's a possibility for this Lorca to return.
Oh,
and
I think maybe that's so?
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be
I thought that too. I thought, oh, he's gonna fall into this stupid sun and kind of disappear, and then maybe he can repop back up. But then they like showed him melting.
Well, again, either way, I'm good, but I think it wouldn't be a stretch for writers to bring him back in some way. Whether
Okay.
his
It
mind is
looked
in the
to me like he
network,
was melting.
whether his mind's in the network, because he didn't instantly disintegrate, he slowly disintegrated, or you know what I mean. So again, I don't know, but I thought that maybe that was something there. Then we have
that that little pit, little mini sun. That's overkill because we already know you can just drop them in space and kill them.
Yes.
Drop them in space over sun for bonus.
Yeah, which again, I don't know. And again, like you said before, this is supposed to be a 1-season story, so who knows what the thing was going to be. Then we move on to, again, I love that line of, "What are you doing?" Oh, it's the rest of his men, and people have turned on me. They're coming here.
By the way, you like totally skipped over SARU'S like moving like Independence Day speech, didn't you?
No. I talked about that where he was like, "This is no longer his ship," and he gave that great speech.
Oh yeah,
you know your jobs. So now Discovery's coming in. They're firing. They actually made the distraction. He actually made the distraction for them to start, and like they're doing their Death Star run towards the center of the ship.
By the way, Saru was very smart in this. Well, in that moment, clearly understood that Michael still had control of what was going on.
They planned that perfectly, and which kind of great because Lorca kind of trained them to be this efficient. And Lorca even like how Lorca.
So that's really interesting. I've been thinking about that too. Don't you think it's interesting how I've been thinking, could Discovery have pulled off this mission without Lorca's training?
I don't think so. And I think that, and I love how he's trying to give them their laurels, and he's like, "We don't want your laurels. Where's Michael? Is she okay?" Like, I love like him standing up to that point. So then we go before, and one of the great lines that Philippa that we kind of talked about earlier when she's like, "They've already seen my neck. I'll never have the same control.
She could never be the Emperor again."
Right. So the least I can do is die on my feet as my station permits or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that's a great way, but also that's a trope. That's how we expected this character to go out, and like we didn't expect what was going to happen. So then we see people floods of troops running in, and she's kicking ass. Like, she ain't got no bubble gum, so all she's doing is kicking ass, and she's like killing, making her last stand. I don't know how many charges a phaser rifle has, but she's gonna use every last one of them. Discovery's blowing up the sun, the miniature sun underneath the ship that they're using for power. They're about to beam her out. She looks at it. You can tell she can't do it again. It was also a really good scene where they both had their badges. Earlier on, Michael had the badge of Philippa. Philippa had the badge of her Michael. And so she grabs her, and as they emergency teleport Michael out, they also get the Empress. And which is really cool about this is because in any other show, that would have been the last time you saw the character. You might not have saw her die, but you assume that. So you'd assume that that's the last stand, but no, they brought her back onto the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
get rid of that character, and she looks.
It's crazy. It's exciting. I think it's really interesting. We lost, so we lose her in the first 2 episodes of the entire show, and we think she's gone forever, and we kind of like her bait and switch where we thought she was this important character, and then she comes back, but then we lose Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, which leads us to the preview. But let's get through the show. So we get back. She looks at her and says, "What have you done to me?" Because in her mind, this is going to be it's kind of like my Lieutenant Dan, like the Lieutenant Dan moment. Like, I was supposed to die there. I was the Empress. I can't just be a regular whatever I advise, whatever. But so we get confirmation that they can move through time in the network. The network is apparently repairing itself.
I gotta say, this is the first true surprise for me in the show. I mean, there been surprises in the show, but I feel like there's been tells about those surprises. But I honestly thought that this show, because, all right, so we knew that this show originally was going to be a bunch of different miniseries shows about different eras. And So I really did think they were going to do sliders in Star Trek. Not necessarily because I wanted sliders in Star Trek, but because I thought it was a way for them to do that whole kind of mini series. What is that called? Like a mini series arc,
right? With Star Trek, with different characters,
with the same crew, right? With the same crew, and they can jump from time and place, and maybe they still will kind of go that way eventually,
like an anthology series.
Like they set it up, they set us up to believe it is unlikely they're actually going to make it home on this trip, right?
Yeah, and that would explain.
And then they do. But it's going to be different time. Oh, Dominion War or something. But it was only like 9 months.
Right. And they also set up that like they could easily said that the network was destroyed now, but they didn't. They said all lights connected to the network.
Yeah, they totally set that up.
The moment they said 9 months later, I knew the Klingons were going to win. Were going to be the winners of the war, or at least like dominating right now. And I thought I was under the impression that this was the last episode of the season, and
episode left, right?
Right. So they end with the map showing the Klingons. Basically, the board's all red. I think I saw a little bit of blue in the corner somewhere on the edge of the map, but it's all red. And like it appears that the Federation isn't answering any hails, even automatic ones. It looks like Klingons have won. So then you stop, and we get the preview for the next episode, which is you see the Admiral, the Dr. Admiral that Lorca had a relationship with, and Sarek, apparently they board. There's some hostility there. Talking about how only 20%. I can't remember. Did they say 20% of the Federation was taken over? Only 20% was left? Because I was like, in that map, it doesn't look like 20% anything. So,
it doesn't look like there's much left. Let's put it that way.
Right. And then you hear.
We'll find out next week. I'm sure we'll get a real clear idea of what's going on by next week.
Right. Then you hear Emperor Philippa say, "Oh, want me to tell you how you can win this war?" And I was like, yes, give her a squadron, and the Klingons are going to see some battle. Which again was great.
Isn't that kind of Federation? Like, that's what the next episode is totally going to be about. It's going to be about this Emperor from the Mirror Universe being like, I'll show you how to win this war. And then the Federation having to compromise to whether they're willing to accept that advice or not.
Right. There's two things I had to think about that because, and I'm not going to question it fitting in the timeline because they've done a really good job of answering those questions. Because in no part in history that we do in Star Trek lore have we known the Klingon Empire to completely dominate.
I know. That's what I'm really curious about. There's exactly like, whoa, this totally throws off timeline, doesn't it?
Right. The only thing we got close to that was when the Enterprise Next Generation went over to the other war where Tasha Yar was still alive, and they were like, we're losing this Klingon war. Like, they were still at war with the Klingons, and they were like, we're losing it in 9 months. The Federation's gonna have to surrender, is what Picard said. And it was kind of like, I remember as a kid, I was like, oh man, that means the Federation would have lost the war with the Klingons. Oh wow.
When did that happen? How was Picard and Tasha Yar involved in that?
So something happened with the timeline, and Guinan was like, oh, this isn't right. And the Federation was at war with the Klingons, and Tasha Yar was still alive. And she was like, whoa, you're supposed to be dead. And I forget why it happened, but at the end of the episode, they fixed the timeline, but Tasha stays on board the other ship that defends this Klingon colony, and she she gets captured by the Romulans, and that's how the Romulan one that looks like Tasha came aboard Next Generation.
Huh. So I wonder if that timeline and this, like, we've already seen that they go for some deep cuts. I wonder if there's a connection here.
Who knows? And I'm not going to question it because they've answered all their questions to say, oh, this doesn't quite line up. And then they answer it.
They have built our trust now that when they pull this big reveal of like Klingons taking over Federation space, you're like, okay, I'm willing to wait and see where you go with this rather than be like, that's stupid, that's wrong, that never happened, which would have been our reaction
when we first started. And yep. I also there was a comment online by another YouTuber that was talking about how Spock talks about how there was never a mutiny in the history of Starfleet, which is kind of weird, but never a mutiny, and then but Michael Burnham's a mutineer. So, and I was like, I'm not questioning anything at this point. So
Yeah.
And I also thought it was really interesting for people who watched Angel. There was a character in Angel who kind of killed one of the regular characters, took their place, and was a character called Illyria, who was this god, this was kind of like who thought humans were petty and small creatures and didn't really care about humanity, became a regular cast member. And I was like, this is really cool because instead of like with the Emperor, you brought her into our universe, and now we get to see how she interacts with this. And
Yes.
I'm excited. I thought that this episode was because the end was like we showed the Klingon Empire take over the Federation. I was like, oh, this is a season cliffhanger. This is a good season cliffhanger. Wow, this is the next story arc. It's like, oh no, you got one more left.
Yep.
So I thought that was
yeah. In a lot of ways, this feels like how they do that thing where Smallville used to do this all the time, where they will basically end the season, the story of the season.
Mm-hmm.
In the episode before the last episode, and then set up kind of the story of the next season.
Yeah.
In the last episode of the season, I kind of feel like that's probably what they're doing here. So basically, we have completed the 2 first arcs, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are about to begin the 3rd arc, but the 3rd arc we're probably not going to see to completion until season 2.
Right, and again, we still got the Klingon spy master in the brig. We still have.
There's a lot of pieces. There's so many moving pieces right now.
Right, there's a lot of things going on with what's his name? The albino Klingon. What's his human name?
Volk or Ash.
Ash, yeah.
Tyvok.
Ash, Tyvok. We got him in the medical bay, strapped up. Yep. We still haven't dealt with him and Michael and his situation. Well. Now we have Emperor Philippa.
This is a ragtag crew. We thought Lorca had a ragtag crew when he kind of assembled these people. Now it's even more ragtag.
And how do you think Philippa, Emperor
you got and who loves to eat food on the same ship together? Like that's
right.
gonna get.
And how do you think Emperor Philippa is gonna feel about taking orders from her main dish? How do you think she's gonna fit into a command structure?
Yeah, I ain't never had a crab tell me where to go.
Right, I've eaten hundreds of your kind. So and there's some breathing room for some of these other faces on the crew to get some.
They finally started talking. I'm hopeful for. Yeah, I hope in season 2. I feel like the biggest feedback there. We want to see more of those characters. So I'm hopeful that in season 2, whenever it finally drops, and we really get to see and interact with the rest of the crew of the ship.
And I'm hoping that I can see how far this twink train goes. Because Michael, what you gonna do next, Michael? To out twink yourself?
Man,
I know. Patrick, did you think of me when they said that line? Did you think of me? Because I was like,
I did. There were so many parts in this episode. I was like, Anthony he's gonna tell us about this. He's gonna tell us.
Look, these last 2 episodes have got yep, food, and they acknowledge his twinkiness. I'm raising her back up from Twink to Mary Sue. I'm raising her back up from Twink to Mary Sue, Patrick. Back up.
I'm going to say that she's a Mary Sue in the Mirror universe and a Twink in the Prime universe.
Okay. I'll kind of accept that. The compromise. The world's built on compromise. All right. Well, I think that's really great. How would you rate this episode, Patrick, before my poison slowly works its way through your system?
So, that's unfortunate. This episode, as I've been saying almost this whole episode, is a lot of highs and lows for me. So it's a lot of A moments and a lot of C+ moments, if that makes sense.
Better than the last one, though?
I don't know. So it was really good.
All right.
Breaks episode still stands out as the best episode, though.
So season. I would say that comparing this to almost any episode from any of the other first seasons of Star Trek, heads above everything else. I think that it was a great episode. It was a great episode with some great I like how you put that. It was a couple of A+ moments, and then some C+, B-.
When I say A+, I mean some of the best action we've ever seen in Star Trek. So that can't be underrated. Like that can't be underrated. But some of the dialogue and stuff was like C plus for me. So
And even the tropes that we've seen, even the tropes that we've seen hundreds of times before, they were done. They were done adequately.
oh,
It
you
was not
didn't
the.
talk about like a little moral message slipped in there too about the
Oh, so we've
mycelial
got a
network and
political message about how Terrans are so arrogant. They think they're going to be able to fix these environmental problems they're causing before these environmental problems they're causing destroy them. So if you didn't
and the
catch
way they
that,
did it was so like deadpan. Like,
it was
well,
like
duh, why would you do
message.
that? Like,
If you ever watched "Don't Be a Menace for Drinking Juice" to South Central on the Hood, it was kind of like whenever they do a moral message and the guy walks, it was like message.
I haven't seen that movie in so long.
that's that's what popped into my head, and so yes, because again, it's what I think about when we get people who talk about how there's no climate change, but then people that says, yeah, there's climate change, but our technology will figure it out before it becomes a problem. Like the arrogance of
Yeah,
that statement, like the arrogance
yeah.
of that statement
They were.
is
Let's talk about that for a moment. They were gonna wipe out all universes on all multiverses.
but they think they're sure they'll be able to fix it before it gets to that point, or at least get
That's
before it affects.
insane.
But at least until it affects them. Even if some other universes are wiped out, it'll be fixed before it affects them. But that's what we do.
One of the things we're
We
learning,
thought
one thing we learned in
we
this
had
episode is the mycelial network is really powerful.
real because we didn't know about the time stuff, and now I'm going back to my prophets thing. Like I'm pretty
I
sure the
agree.
prophet,
I think the
yeah,
best way to understand the mycelial network is to look at it through the lens of the prophets.
yeah, and also with how I think they're using, I don't know if it's the prophets or the network. They're using Stamos's boyfriend, were they husbands, lover,
Are they? Yeah,
partner,
I can't remember if they were married or not.
right?
But Colburn, yeah,
Uh, because I don't think that's Coburn. I think that's the network
right,
or a prophets type thing. And what if the prophets are just the network? Um,
yeah.
I'd love a name drop, even if you don't put Cisco. I know Cisco's a stretch, but even if you name Bejor or something like that in this, I'd be really.
I think it would be cool
I
to
have a
have some sort of direct prophets connection at some point.
yeah,
It
because
makes
again,
sense. It makes way more sense. A lot of people are caught just because everybody's a freaking TNG fanboy. Everybody wants like Q or whatever, but I think the prophets make the most sense of a connection to the mycelial network.
I haven't heard anybody else's theories about Q. I don't necessarily want Q to show up, but
I really don't want Q to show up.
one thing I thought about is if Q was basing his determination. If so, this is what I thought about during this episode. Now I just thought about it. I haven't read anything else about it, so I don't know if anybody else has already checked. But so let's say the Terrians are threatening all the multiverse, right?
Right.
And the Q go, oh what the heck? Humans? Humans are doing this? Oh no. All right. Q number 23.
I could see that.
You go to this timeline. Q number two. Hey, what do we send that Q? No one wants to work with. Just send them to this universe.
You may have just turned me on one idea. You may have just turned me on one idea. I could see somehow what just happened being the launching point for Q testing Jean Picard.
That's what I'm saying.
Because all about Q basically testing humanity. And I could see this as being the time the little boy like set the kitchen on fire and you're like, oh, whoa, all right, we got to take them a little more seriously now.
Them Anakin Skywalker moments. Little boy Anakin Skywalker, like, oh, no, you about to be Darth Vader. You gotta go now. Like we're not gonna wait.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what if different Qs go to different realities and be like, we just gotta test humanity out because like we've seen what these Terrans will do. We've seen what these Terrans will do.
That makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
You test them out. Take the Q no one wants to work with. You test this universe out, and even talk about how, because we know in other timelines humans are destroyed. We know humans are wiped out. So we know the Terran Empire in this universe is really depowered. What led to all this?
It's really interesting where this leaves the Terran Empire for when Spock jumps across. Spock, right?
And we also know that the Q aren't above playing with putting people in the right situation. So we know that. So I don't know if you ever heard this. That the Q actually exposed the Federation to the Borg because the Borg were coming anyway, and he wanted them to be ready for it. There's an underlining plot line through TNG of like certain things that Q does that actually benefit them in the long term. And the Q making sure that Lorca gets transported by an ion storm or Destiny. Can you imagine the Q thinking about Destiny with Lorca? Like,
Yeah.
the little hairless monkey thinks it's Destiny.
Yeah.
He thinks he's destined to be great.
So I could see that. I could see this an indirect. Let me put it that way. I could see an indirect connection where this is the moment where Q suddenly said, "All right, humanity, we actually need to pay attention to that because they
almost destroyed the multiverse."
Yeah. There's probably after this episode right now, there's an argument going on in the continuum of like, do we wipe them out or not? I lost you, Anthony. I'll turn off my video. You there? You there? You there? You there? Guess we'll have to edit this out. So anyways, what Anthony was saying, I could get behind the idea that you there?
Yeah, I blanked out for like 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. What I was saying is I think it's pretty funny idea that like you can imagine the conversation that's going on in the continuum right after this episode. There's like some cues that are like, let's just take them out, right? And there's other cues like, oh, but you know, they're fun play toys, and you know, so
yeah, and like we can't judge all humanity by that one variance. Like, so I think that's an interesting idea.
Yep. But anyways, my real point is the profits. It makes a lot of sense there would be a profit connection to the mycelial network. So I think that would be really cool. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, what was your rating for this episode?
I'm going to give, you know what? I'm not going to give it A+. I'm going to give it somewhere between a B+, A-.
Okay.
Where some of the stuff getting the asterisks as the best action we've ever seen from any.
This is Star Trek action done well. This is Star Trek action that felt still like it was Star Trek, not like it was Star Wars or something.
You know what? It's kind of like how in older Star Trek, the ships used to be stationary and they just firing each other, and then we had more dynamic space battles in Deep Space Nine and Voyager movies. In combat, even with phasers and even some hand-to-hand stuff, has been really stationary in a way, very stagnatic. And in Star Trek history, this was a very dynamic take on phaser battles. And also, they brought the Force into Star Wars. In Star Trek. I don't know if you noticed that. When they were talking about the mycelial network, the way Stamets described it, and now it's this outer connecting force, and it binds time and matter. And I was like, oh, crap. Like, it's not exactly the Force, but they brought a Force-like element.
Mycelial network and metachlorians just away from each other.
Yeah, they on your bumper, Star Wars. I ain't saying on that. They on your bumper. They about to get Star Trek giving you them hands, and I think I need. Y'all better fix it. Hey, bring the C2C crew in here. We help you out, Star Wars. We help you out. We got mad love for y'all.
Yeah.
Just bring us in. We will fix all this stuff. We will fix it all. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's all I had to say.
I wish more people were watching this show because I do feel like a lot of the things that people are holding up about The Last Jedi, this show does so much better.
So much better.
I can see when I hear people arguing for why they like Last Jedi, I don't necessarily always agree with their argument, but I can understand their point of view. But I think the things that they're describing better, much better. And so people who like The Last Jedi, they definitely should be watching Discovery. Let's put it that way. They should definitely be watching Discovery.
Grade it. And if you want to see doing a character, because again, for my issues with the twinkness with Michael, she actually worked for a lot of stuff she has. You can actually see the progression in her in a lot of different ways. If you want to see strong female characters, not the expense of men, or strong minority characters, not at the expense of Caucasian characters.
Well, let's just talk about a strong person, like a strong female Black woman. There are many strong Black characters. I mean, not many, but there are several. And there are several strong female characters. But the number of strong female Black characters, I mean, unless you have an ensemble, there's almost none.
Right, and I would say this probably like on TV right now. I'd probably say Michonne from Walking Dead and oh crap,
Mhm.
Scandal. Uh, People probably sit in hate mail right now, but you have so there's three right now, which is unheard of in American TV at one time. Um, but I would say this about Michael is that sometimes people take strong character as meaning you're always powerful, always right, and that's not what strong means. You know what I mean? That doesn't that
Right. Oh
doesn't
yeah, totally.
necessarily. You don't have to be strong at the expense of other people around you. That's not
Right.
necessarily strength. Um,
Right.
so I like that, and look where we're at right now with this cast. You have Killy, you have Emperor Philippa, you have Michael, you have the metal face lady. Also,
Yeah.
I forgot there was an android or a cyborg on the ship
Yeah.
until this episode.
Well, and also, what was I gonna say? Just even having Saru, I know it sounds weird, but how many alien captains in Star Trek are not treated normally with
No.
respect, honestly?
And honestly, we have a captain that's alien now, who's not the main character of the show. Because I don't think Michael. To me, there's no reality where they should make Michael the captain in this next season. Let Saru.
Mm.
They've built Saru up
You might be in
perfectly.
trouble then. You might
I
be in
think.
trouble.
I don't think they should.
We'll
I think
see.
they've built Saru up to be now. She can be first officer. That makes more sense for her to go on away missions and stuff. But they've built him up to be a captain. They've actually shown him
It's
great
crazy
progression
how
on
far
him.
we've come with this show, though. Remember early on, we were like, maybe this whole show is just going to take place in the like science room or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's just amazing if you think about where we were when this show started and where we are now. This has been an amazing journey, and so thank you, Discovery, for
Yeah.
taking us on that journey.
You guys should be proud of everything y'all put into this, because you guys did a really hard job, because you had to appease or keep us old time fans with you while bringing something new for people to just come in on. And I think you did a
Yeah,
really good job on that. If people give it, my only thing is not. I'd be really interested to see the numbers between people in the UK versus America because of accessibility.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah,
I
this is
hope
something
they
y'all
put
should be.
this like on Netflix or something, like in 6 months or something like that. I
Yeah,
mean, they might not.
but that'll open up the audience and people getting
The
excited about
biggest
the second
loss for
season.
this show, conversation going on about it, unless you're in like a Discovery Facebook group or something, people aren't really talking about this show very much.
Which is
And
a shame.
it is a shame. They really should be.
To,
Like, so,
this season,
yeah.
this has been up here with the. Actually, it's probably better.
There are episodes of this show that I could see getting an Emmy nomination, not winning, but an Emmy nomination. And I can also definitely see the show going to a place where it is winning Emmys for sure.
Right. So yeah, that's where we're at. I can't imagine anything happening in the last episode that's gonna make me go, "This whole season sucks now."
No.
I don't see that happening.
Yep.
But and thanks everybody who's
Yeah.
joining us. Thank our patrons.
Tell your friends, follow us on iTunes, rate us on iTunes, follow us on Google Play, all that stuff.
Mo usually handles advertisements, so I'm sure that we'll have something put on here at some point. But yeah. Thank you guys. It's been a great journey, and I hope you stick with us while we have Rebels coming back soon. We have
Thanks for
Star Wars Rebels coming back
in here, Anthony.
You said what?
Thanks for clutch hosting.
Oh, no problem. No problem. It's my plan all along to take this show from
great.
y'all. No, I'm joking.
One more episode that reviews like the last episode, and I think me and Mo were talking about doing an episode after that reviews the whole show. Or the full season, and for that we're going to invite a bunch of people. I think we're going to just have like a crowd for the season.
So we'll have
review.
you from JBS.
Really
we'll have people from Three Black Geeks. We'll have Squad 4 coming out. We'll have Lucas who we on. He don't know what we're talking about, but I'm sure he'll want to join.
Oh gosh!
I don't know if we're having Lucas on. I just like to invite and stuff.
Yeah.
And also
Lucas talking about Star Trek seems dangerous.
Yeah, it does. But we'll also have but even if not that, we're coming up on Black Panther coming out soon. So we're gonna have tons of stuff on that.
Yeah, I think Mo's seeing a screener here soon. So.
Oh well, Mo got tickets. Mo got screening tickets.
Maybe I thought I saw something like that. So, anyways, point being,
I'm
definitely
glad I
use the Black
killed him. He didn't give him a screening ticket. Yeah. Anything else before we close out?
Oh, all right. Thanks, Anthony.
All right. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Close this out.